Hi everyone, Melissa here, and this is a little bonus video. So if you saw my last video, we were talking about character archetypes, and I reviewed this character archetypes deck by Myss. I also talked about the 45 master characters in this book. And so I just wanted to do something fun and pull some cards and create some characters with you so you could see exactly how I go about creating characters. Now, I've used this for pitches that I did for a feature film for Netflix. I've used this in a TV script, a TV pilot that I've been working on in terms of planning that, and also for a podcast, fictionalized podcast I've been working on. So I think this is a really great tool, especially as we're coming up to NaNoWriMo in a few months or a few days, right? So we're in October, that starts November 1st. And a lot of you are thinking about doing that. If you don't know anything about NaNoWriMo, look it up. It's National Novel Writing Month. It's fantastic. I've done it many, many years. I find it a really great free program that you can engage in to get motivation and insight. It's a perfect distraction for the chaos that's happening in 2020. So consider joining. You can sign up at nanowrimo.org. There's a lot of online support to help you write your first novel or write any novel as long as it's 50,000 words. So this is really great prep for that. You can't start writing your novel until November 1, but you can outline your plot, you can develop your characters, you can do a lot of the prep work for writing. So let's create a character that we could write with in NaNoWriMo. So I'm just shuffling these cards a little bit. And I'll tell you, one card just fell out on the floor, and it's the child orphan. I'll read it to you. So the light attributes for the child orphan are independence based on learning to go it alone. They have conquered their fear of surviving. The shadow attribute is feelings of abandonment that stifle maturation, seeking inappropriate surrogate family. So this is where I like to use the shadow to show where the character is starting. So at this point, the character is still dealing with these feelings and these emotions of abandonment, and they tend to latch on to inappropriate surrogate families. I love that. That's a cute, like interesting idea in terms of what the inciting incident could be or who they're surrounding themselves with that could be limiting their growth and complicating their lives. Let's grab some more cards. Visionary. We got the visionary card. Okay, so light attributes for visionary. Capacity to envision what is not yet conceivable to others. Willingness to proclaim a vision without regard for personal gain. The shadow attribute. Selling insights to the highest bidder. Compromising your vision to make it more acceptable. All right, so immediately I'm thinking, for some reason, because of the orphan and because of this card, I'm thinking something in the past, some kind of historical fiction that like maybe takes place in the early 1900s with a character who is, I don't know, like I'm feeling like something similar to The Illusionist, which was not the 1900s, so like off by centuries, but The Illusionist, this like child orphan that's sort of lost and is intrigued by magic and has these abilities or develops these abilities, but that kind of maybe uses them for their own advantage, or maybe like The Greatest Showman, right? That similar sort of story where you have this young boy who's sort of lost and trying to make his way and could be perceived as a con man, or maybe like gets in line or in league with somebody who is a con artist or con man, and they learn how to survive based on that relationship with this surrogate family that doesn't always have their best interests at heart. Let's see, another thing here. Yeah, see, look, we've got the gambler. So I think that fits in a willingness to follow intuition even when others doubt you, relying on luck rather than hard work, right? So maybe this character, is hardworking, but they also rely a lot on luck to get by. It could be, this also speaks to a little bit of like how much of a risk taker is this character, and do they have their own mind and their own perspective, or do they always follow the lead of others, right, and those around them? And this is really interesting too, because what you can do is say for these two types, they're in the shadow piece. But for this one, maybe they are in the light attribute. Maybe they are willing to follow their own intuition and trust their own selves because they're used to being on their own, right? And maybe they've been burned. So they have learned to trust their intuition, but they still tend to fall into negative relationships or toxic relationships. They still tend to compromise some of their vision at times to make it more acceptable to those around them because they're seeking family, right? So you can see how these characters start to come together. Let's look at like a possible antagonist for this character. So we've got, who do we got here? The warrior. Sounds like a good antagonist. Their light attributes: strength, skill, discipline, toughness of will, heroism, stoicism, and self-sacrifice in conquering the hero or the ego. Their shadow attributes: trading ethical principles for victory at any cost, indifference to the suffering inflicted on others. So yeah, for my antagonists, I almost always start them in the shadow attributes. Sometimes they never come out of that shadow attribute. But yeah, so they're trading ethical principles for victory at any cost, right? So they're a powerful person, but they're willing to compromise and trade those. They're willing to, the end justifies the means. We have companion. So their light attributes: loyal, tenacious, and unselfishness. And their shadow attributes are betrayal by misusing confidences and loss of personal identity. So this could be that warrior's downfall. If I was writing YA, this would probably be our love interest. And so I would say, this is maybe a woman, this is maybe a girl. Doesn't have to be, right? But this is the love interest. And I think this is the love interest of our character. I think they meet. I think they have a connection. And I think this person is a fighter and is tough and is encouraging them to leave, to break away. But I also think this person could be someone who betrays our protagonist, right? So maybe they know each other in an early phase. Maybe they grew up together and they come back. So it's like a love lost or a second chance kind of story. They do something at the beginning to betray them and they become the enemy. They become the warrior, the antagonist throughout the story. So you can see how these pieces start to play together. The Avenger, right? And now what I might do is say, oh, the Avenger, this sounds like another character, right? So sometimes I'm drawing for a specific pile and I'm seeing how they start to come together. And other times I'm looking at them and I'm like, oh no, I actually want this to be its own character. So let's get some more. So we have the Avenger and we have the child magical and we have the rescuer. And so, yeah, so this is interesting because the Avenger has a desire to balance the scales of justice, righteous on behalf of society and oneself. We have the rescuer, which provides strength and support to others in crisis and acts out of love with no expectation of reward. And then we have this child magical. And I'm like, how does this fit in? They see the potential for sacred beauty in all things. This belief is the belief that everything is possible. Now, that doesn't feel like it fits this character right now. I feel like this person is really cynical. But when I look at the shadow attributes, it says pessimism, depression, and disbelief in miracles, believing that energy and action are not required for growth. So what I took from that, what I think is helpful, is the disbelief in miracles. That's all I'm going to use from this card in terms of a trait. So they are a fighter. They're riding the scales of justice. They are acting with no expectation of reward, and they don't believe in miracles. They take action on their own. Now, if I was confused about that or I wanted some more insight, let's look in the book and see what is under child magical. See if there's anything else we can use there. Oh, here's the orphan. So yeah, it talks about innocence, seeing potential for beauty in all things, embodies wisdom and courage in face of difficult circumstances, right? Is gifted with imagination and the belief that everything is possible. The shadow magical child manifests a lack of faith in miracles and transformation. Look for a pattern of transcendence over apparently negative circumstances from early on in life. So I might say that like something in their background early on has made them skeptical, has made them a disbeliever in miracles or in sort of humanity itself. And maybe that even drives why they are the Avenger, why they seek justice and on their own. And so this could be, now we have three characters, right? We have this love interest who is our antagonist, who broke this child orphan's heart, right? And we have this child orphan who's a visionary and a gambler and keeps falling in line with the wrong folks. And maybe they come across this person, right? And so now there's a conflict between these two people wanting to have this vision and implement that vision, and this antagonist here who, maybe whatever it is they're fighting for wants the opposite, right? So now we have three characters. And so now what I can do is I can take those characters and I can start to think about what are the conflicts? What are the things that a person with these different archetypes would be wanting in this world? And what are the things that this person, this individual, this romantic interest would do to complicate that? Why do they want the same thing? So then you can start to getting into the why and the motivations of their actions based on their personality and their characteristics and their traits. But you can see how different ideas for conflict easily manifest themselves. So that's how I would use these cards. I really love it because there's so much variety. And like I said, if I get a card that I don't like or I'm not sure of, I sometimes toss it back. And other times I set it aside and I'm like, this might be a different character. This is something that I definitely want to use, or this is something that I'm not interested in using at that time. And I'll put it back. The other thing you can do is if there are cards that you don't like, just take them out of the deck and then, only shuffle with the cards that you want to use for your writing purposes. Like there's a thief. I love that, right? So you can use that to kind of think about the story that you want to tell, but it's really up to you. And that's what I love. This is the whole idea, is not to take this as verbatim, but to use it as to use it to inspire you. Use it as a prompt to elicit other ideas as a starting point and jumping off point to help you figure out different options that you might not have considered on your own. So I am going to go, but let me know down in the comments below what you think about these three characters. How would they come together? How would you write the story for these characters? All right. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you like this, it lets me know that you want to see more videos like so, and we'll do some creative story building together. Subscribe so that you don't miss out on any future content. I'm Melissa, and thank you for hanging out with us. Have a wonderful day.